Alexa, how many downloads for Jim and Bill, It's Another Day podcast?
From adweek.com. Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week, according to the publisher.
Well, what do you know? There's a lot of you out there listening, and we appreciate it. Don't forget to spread the word. Like and share Jim and Bill, It's Another Day. And once again, thanks for listening. Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Nye. By the way, if you hear grinding noises in the background,
it's your
jackhammers
dentist
and stuff, it's my dentist. No, it's not. It's not my stomach grumbling. It's had a water main, I guess, go out yesterday somewhere during the day, but the crew came out at midnight. So I have not been asleep since.
They must
midnight.
They must get overtime for coming out at midnight.
Sure they do. Larry,
Yes.
Curly, and Mo were out supervising the project, and you know they do those test drills to see where the pipe
And you
is.
notice
'cause
the
they don't have a
main
map.
the main is usually right outside the studio window. That's where they're working. Where are they working? They're right underneath your window.
Oh, yeah, there's trucks up and down the street. You know, there's a freshly done street with new sidewalks and all the grass and shrubs planted. Not no more.
Then of course, they tell you, well, you might get some discoloration in your water for a few days. When you turn it on, it looks like chocolate milk. You know, it's like, oh gosh, what is this?
Yeah, I don't know. The why, you know, that's a whole different topic. Whether they fix that or not, you know, you think about the crud in the pipes and in your house. You know, the water that we drink, it's not that great. You know, I got a tester and it goes, no, you don't want to drink this. You probably don't even want to shower in it. But you know, when you get a bottle of water from
It's
the
not
store
much
or something
better.
like that, it's not much better. Yeah, you're right. And then the chemical breakdowns of the plastic.
Oh my
because,
God! So what you're
we're
saying, Bill,
poisoning ourselves.
what you're saying is you just can't get away from it, and no matter where you go, whether it be bottle or tap, it's not the greatest water. You know, it's interesting. I knew of a company that was bottling their water and selling it like it was spring water, and come to find out they were taking it from their own tap. You know, it was like a regular tap coming off the water supply in the town, and this company was bottling it, putting a fancy label on it, and calling it like. I won't say a name because there'll probably be some company out there with that name. So, you know, something Springs or something like that, you know?
Yeah, well, that's general and anything. We digress. I'll just make this observation. When I was, up in the Northeast on vacation, we were driving along and somebody said, oh, there's a roadside vegetable and fruit stand, all farm grown. Let's go there. So, we go there and I'm sitting there going, so you grew these apples, and let's see, it's not until late March that you do the corn, but you got freshly grown corn here.
Uh-huh.
You did this, and you got asparagus. Boy,
Yeah.
you got a pretty broad farm here, and you got grapes too. Yeah, we grow all this. I'm going like, bull crap. You go to the store, to their produce, you buy it, and you put it out there in the stand where you say, farm fresh. We grow it ourselves.
They do that all the time. I mean, there are places that actually ship in farm fresh produce into like market areas in certain cities, and then these guys in these farms will go out, like you say, and they'll buy a bunch of the stuff and bring it back
the
to
price a little bit.
Yeah, they'll bring it back to their local stores, and they'll say, it's farm fresh. It is farm fresh, just not their farm,
Yeah, and it's been processed and shipped across state a few times,
Well, speaking of not getting the straight story about
you're
anything,
talking about Kamala, yeah.
Well, no, we'll get to that. But I wanted to first talk about the testimony we heard yesterday in Washington, in the Senate hearing on the assassination attempt to President Trump. They had Ron Rowe, the acting director of the Secret Service, and they had what's his name? Abate, the deputy director of the FBI, testifying,
Right.
and it didn't go all that well because they weren't all that forthcoming. Ron Rowe, I thought he at first was going to be more forthcoming, more open, more honest. But he started to do the same dance, basically, that Cheadle was doing, dodging questions, being less than forthright. He was just not being straight to the senators and to the American people about what was going on. I want to play a little bit of. He was talking with, I believe it was Josh Hawley, and Hawley was really on his case, and Rowe got a little ticked off. Listen.
The person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance, and as opposed to zeroing in on one.
What more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the
What more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
Put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise.
What do you mean put your thumb on the
objective? You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the
Is it
Secret
not
Service.
prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
Then
just like you
fire
have.
somebody to
and I will
hold
tell
them
you, Senator,
accountable.
I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people
I can't believe
unfairly
that you
persecuted.
are unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly,
We've got people
sir.
who are
We
dead.
have to.
That's a little taste of what was going on yesterday. Here's the thing that bothers me, Bill, is that he makes it sound like a rush to judgment is having an answer in, like 2.5 weeks, which is what it has been. It'll be 3 weeks on Saturday, and they still haven't got an answer. Bill, most of the people who are following this story have answers. They got it from the media, and they got it within the first few days. You know,
you got to back up and look at the whole picture, because if we don't keep a watchful eye on them, they'll sweep it away and it will just disappear in the news because we're not paying attention. Now, if we pay attention to it, well, you've got so many other stories out there. I mean, the Democrats made a big switch. They took the worst vice president of all time, who's a Marxist, who's got, had negative numbers, and now all of a sudden she's Cinderella.
Okay.
She is our queen. She's
you
anointed.
made a very good point. And this is something which I think we have to do. We have to stay on top of this case, this shooting case, because they're going to try to push it back out of the limelight as quickly as possible. They'll talk about Kamala, how great she is, and then it'll be about the vice presidential nominee for the Democrats, and that'll suck up some oxygen, and the assassination attempt will be pushed further and further back. No, you're absolutely correct. We have got to keep it up front.
Here's the point. Was the assassination attempt on Trump part of a big, massive coup? I mean, when you look at it, they set Biden up with that debate before he was, they had the convention. That's never happened before, but they did because they knew he was failing. They needed everyone to see it, so, we got to replace. Then they forced Kamala in because they had nobody else, but they said, you know what, we own the media. You can see that now with every story that's out there. Yeah. I see them taking little editorial pieces of her talking, and they run it that way. It's nothing more than a damn commercial, but she doesn't have to pay for it because it's in the eyes of the news. So they keep her out there. They talk about her. They lie about the polls. Now, yeah, we're investigating, but it's going to take some time. You know,
Phil,
all
an example of that a couple of days ago, she says in a speech, she called J.D. Vance weird. She called him, she used the term
that's the
weird.
narrative.
Yeah, all of a sudden, everybody and their brother on the left is calling the Republicans, specifically J.D. Vance, as weird. Now, mind you, he's a Yale graduate, a U.S. Marine, fought over...
Doesn't matter.
No.
He's not a Democrat.
That's exactly right.
So he's weird, you're weird, we're weird for doing this show.
Yes.
We're just weird. We're MAGA. We're weird. You know what? They're idiots. They're liars.
Well, I'll tell you how weird we are, by the way.
They are lying sacks of Juija, as you like to say.
Yeah, we had probably the one of the largest downloads of our program in history yesterday. Thank you very much. And that's because I think people are realizing they have to go to other sources to get at least honest conversation.
Case in point, Jesse Waters and Fox, even though Fox has gotten a little bit rogue and gone off, to say, yeah, they're balanced, but the simple fact is they're still trying to be conservative, and their numbers are quadruple MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, and everybody that's touting the Kamala. I dare you, I don't want you to see Kamala's stuff, but if you turn on the internet, her picture's there, there's an editorial about her. Oh, there's one little ad, but there's an editorial. The fix is in. They are pushing Kamala. The poll numbers, they'll sit there and say, she's winning in every state.
No. This morning, have you seen the latest polls that came out? They didn't want you to see this. I'm looking for that right now.
They hide it. Yeah, I have that too.
Yeah.
But I also have what they put on the mainstream that a lot of people don't know to go get.
Yeah, this is a major poll. This is Trump. If I can't find it.
Harris poll.
The Harris poll, yeah. Trump is up like 52 to her 46% nationally. It's the highest Trump has ever been.
Now that's with the leaners. Even without the leaners, he is way ahead. But you know what? I don't believe her 46 or 48%, and here's why. Because she was negative 22 just 3 weeks ago. What the hell did she do to change that kind of deficit? What did she do?
Yeah, here's what I got. I have a new poll from the Harvard-Harris Fund finds Trump at 52% and Kamala Harris at 48%. That's with leaners. Without leaners, it's Trump 48, Harris 45. This poll is full of good news for Trump, but the biggest point is that 52%, as it indicates a majority, Trump has never polled this high, this well, in either 2016 or 2020. So he's doing phenomenally well, but they don't want you to know it. Again, they want to keep that a secret. They want you to think that she's competitive. She's going to get she's going to run into a stone wall, a brick wall. It's as simple as that. She hasn't got anything to offer. They had a did you see she had a rally, and she
it was a rap concert, and when it was over, they left. But they're going to take a picture of the crowd and her talking.
It was a free rap concert, right? So the place was, I think it was in Atlanta. It was filled with people. But as soon as she started to talk, what did you say, Bill?
Oh, they were walking out in droves, so they weren't listening while they were walking. Oh, come on, let's talking. Let's get the hell out of here.
I'm done.
Now, there are people that are loyal to the Democrat Party, and they will sit there and say, yeah, we're with Kamala, because they grew up, it's inbred into them to where, I got to vote Democrat. And no, you don't have to. There's nothing that says you have to vote Democrat, Independent, Republican, anything. What the Constitution says is that you should vote for who that supports your values. That could be a Democrat, that could be a Republican. Right now, if you're a socialist or a Marxist, then Kamala's your girl. If you're a liar, Kamala's your girl. If you want to corrupt government, Kamala's your girl. You have an
AR-15 in your house? You have a gun in your house? Listen.
We who safe from gun violence will finally pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
If you think Joe Biden was radical, what Carmela basically is saying, hold my beer, because she's going to make Joe look like he was a constitutionalist. It's as simple as that.
The other thing Kamala's doing, she didn't want to meet with Netanyahu, but then she did. She avoided the meeting in Congress, and then she's doing that. And now she's doing press conferences, and she's talking like she is the president. Well, I guess she is. She's the vice president in place of Biden, who he's still the president. He says he is, but he's not coming out and talking because I guess they don't want him to talk, because then we'll know that it was a coup to get him out of the office and put Kamala in. But we already knew that. This is the biggest de facto coup that has ever gone on, and the lies continue.
Bill,
and I'm tired of it.
If he's incapacitated right now, what the hell is he doing in the White House? Why hasn't Congress said, whoa, wait a second? If, he pulls himself out, he disappears from the limelight. He's not making any comments per se about what's happening in the Middle East, and we got some stuff to talk about there too in a few minutes. A lot of things happening in the Middle East.
Yeah,
but he's isolated himself. In the meantime, Carmela's out campaigning. She's not running the government. So who is running our government right now?
Oh, the puppeteer. No, that would be Obama, but that's my guess, and maybe Hillary, too, in the background. But you never know. And I don't even know that, even though it seems Kamala's anointed, in a couple of weeks that could all change at the convention. And I don't know. They're going to try to make that thing seem all peaches and cream and rosy. And the one thing that I know for sure that will happen and won't happen, when that convention goes on, all the networks and all eyes are going to be on it, and it's going to be positive commentary on it.
Yeah.
There will not be any Republican rebuttals like when the Republican convention went on. There were negative commentaries on it and a counter Democrat rebuttal, singing the praises. And that's all free publicity that's given. Oh, well, this was journalism. This was news. But if we want news, we're going to have to pay for it.
That's going to be August 19th, by the way, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Again, they'll get a bump for a short period of time. There's some talk that she's going to announce her running mate this weekend in Philadelphia, and which leads people to think that it's probably going to be Josh Shapiro, because he's the governor of the state of Pennsylvania, and it's going to be the announcement's going to be here.
Is that going to give her Pennsylvania, where Trump, I think, is leading? And will that Josh throw it over? I never heard of Josh before he became governor. I mean, I saw him on the ballot, and I said, well, he's not doing well. I went to bed, he's not doing well, and I woke up, he was the governor. So, and
doesn't that sound familiar? It sounds like Venezuela, actually, by the way.
Well, it does. But, it's funny because CNN was trying to grill Lindsey Graham, and he wasn't going into it. He was being Lindsey, though, and saying, no, Trump's got a message. They were talking about Michigan, where Trump had a rally, was saying, look, don't let them steal it, because we will win unless we let them steal it that night. And the commentator, she's almost crying, going, can you tell him to stop that? Can you publicly tell him to quit talking about stealing the election and promoting that lie? Well, I don't believe it's a lie. I believe it's the truth. But they don't want him to talk about stealing the election,
right,
because they got an active coup in play right now where they're stealing and placing in a Manchurian candidate. It's a Marxist, probably by the Chinese. So they got that going on. They're getting ready to steal this election. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, they're telling us that Vance is the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
That Trump should
gotta love
replace
it, Bill.
Vance.
Chuck Schumer is so concerned that Trump has made a poor choice for the vice presidential nominee that he's actually saying to Trump, well, look, you have until next Tuesday in some states to change your mind on your VP. like you should be listening to Chuck Schumer. I mean, do you think that Trump would think that Chuck Schumer has his best interest at heart? Come on.
Well, Charles in charge, Chuck E. Cheese, went on to say that Trump should drop out. That way the Republicans can have a do-over. Well, if I were the opposite side and I thought that Vance and Trump were that bad, I'd say, boy, it's going to be tough, man. These guys are going to be tough. What the hell are you afraid of, Chuck?
Well, Chuck is afraid, I think, in all honesty, that if Trump gets back into office, I think that there's going to be a certain amount of, there's going to be some justice. Let's just leave it at that.
Well,
people who've been lying, stealing, and cheating over the last few years may have to explain themselves, if you know.
Well, the Democrats have a couple of new slogans. They're picking on MAGA. They're picking on Republicans and Trump, saying that we're weird, we're MAGA, weird. They do have a new slogan. It's called, what is it? We are not going back. They're chanting it. We are not going back. And they're promoting that she will be the first black woman president. Well, she's not black.
All you have to do, Bill, is hear her talk for like 5 minutes, 2 minutes. And, people like we were saying, they were leaving the auditorium when she started to talk.
We need to leave before they put her in office. And we are not going back. You're right, Kamala, we're not going back because look at the mess you left us to. We're not going back to your administration's failed policy. Making America great again means we're gonna undo what you did and fix it going forward. There will be changes, believe you me. So, and you're one of them, Kamala.
Yesterday in the hearings,
need to go back to the hole you crawled out of.
Yesterday in the hearings, FBI Deputy Director Abate was also testifying. He gave an update. And here's how that went.
Something just very recently uncovered that I want to share is a social media account which is believed to be associated with the shooter in about the 2019-2020 timeframe. There were over 700 comments posted from this account. Some of these comments, if ultimately attributable to the shooter, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes, to espouse political violence, and are described as extreme in nature. While the investigative team is still working to verify this account to determine if it did in fact belong to the shooter, we believe it important to share and note it today, particularly given the general absence of other information to date from social media and other sources of information that reflect on the shooter's potential motive and mindset. These are the facts, in part, that the investigation has revealed to date. While the shooter is dead, our work is very much ongoing and urgent.
They talk about social media. The founder of Gab is refuting the claim of the FBI with regard to the social media account. Apparently, Gab, which is the social media account they're referring to, did their own investigating and searched the site and came up with different facts than the FBI. Bill, I'm sorry. I don't have the trust and the faith in the FBI that I used to have. I mean, based upon what they did at Mar-a-Lago and how they've been used by the Justice Department and Merrick Garland as a personal tool. And now, and now they have, Trump has agreed to do a victims, interview.
Yeah, that's a setup, by the way.
It is.
It is a setup. They're going to sit there and paint it. They're going to paint this thing on him, and that will be the next trial that they have. How do
you paint it on him when he's the target?
Trust me, they will. They'll say that it was a Republican coup to sit there and get attention.
Hey, folks, you don't stand 140 yards away from. If the guy were a master marksman, if the guy were the best shooter in the military, and he was 140 yards away, that's almost a football field and a half away, right? And it's dusk, and you're on top of a building, and you're under an incredible amount of pressure, by the way, because you've been spotted, and you can hear people yelling that there's a shooter on the roof. You've heard now. you have to hurry the shot. Do you think that any person in their right mind would say, okay, just make sure you nick me in the ear from 140 yards away?
Yeah, I'll take that shot because I know you won't miss and you'll just nick my ear.
Unbelievable. How do you make Bill? How do you make him, Trump, the villain in that? I mean, literally. Well, as a matter of fact, Christopher Wray.
They can.
Christopher Wray last week said in a hearing in front of Congress, he said, "Yeah, well, there's some question, some doubt as to whether it was even a bullet. It might have been shrapnel." That's what he said last week, which of course he had to take back. Well, John Kennedy wanted this guy, the deputy director, to be more specific. So listen to what he said.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Abate, am I saying your name right?
Yes, Senator. Thank you.
You are the deputy director of the FBI, is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Is there any doubt in your mind or in the collective mind of the FBI that President Trump was shot in the ear by a bullet fired by the assassin crooks?
Senator, there is absolutely no doubt in the FBI's mind whether former President Trump was hit with a bullet and wounded in the ear. No doubt, there never has been.
Okay.
I've been part of this investigation since the very beginning, and that has never been raised.
You're sure?
Yes.
It wasn't a space laser.
No.
It wasn't a murder hornet.
Absolutely not.
It wasn't Sasquatch.
No, Senator.
It was a bullet.
It was a bullet, Senator. 100%.
Fired by crooks.
Yes, sir.
That hit President Trump in the ear and almost killed him.
100%, Senator.
Okay. Glad we cleared that up.
I love how he did that because now they can't go back and say, well, it was shrapnel, because they would love to do that, minimize it.
But what they did do is one thing there that I think is a slip. And that is that we just pinned it on Crooks, that he's the one that pulled the trigger. And I'm not sure about that because we know there were other shooters there. So, and without the bullet and the ballistics compared to his gun to see if it was the one that fired it, we don't know. And the second shooter thing is an active story. So by him saying, no, it was Crooks, that makes that kid the guy.
Yeah, there's we forget that, and nobody's talking about this. There was a guy from Duke University who did a ballistics check. Mm-hmm. We played it on the air. We played the long version and the short version, and he talked about the different sounds. The first 3 bullets sounded a certain way, and he played it, and they sound more muffled. He said that was from a different location. Then the next 3 had a crack to them, and they had an echo. He said, and they were closer, which means that there were at least 2 rifles fired. He said, by the way, and those rifles were fired at least 10 seconds before the counter snipers returned fire. He could tell the difference between those rifles and the counter snipers, and nobody, Bill, is talking about it.
We've got too many stories out there, narratives going on, and it is part of a big coup. What story do we chase? Do we chase the Kamala, build up and cover up? Do we chase the assassination attempt? Or do we take certain things and put them on ice for a little bit to come back to and go to the more important thing? The most important thing in my mind is destroying Kamala with her record, where she sat there and withheld evidence as a prosecutor, because she's a great prosecutor. They say she's the best in the world. I mean, she is a saint, yet she withheld evidence to get a guy on death row and then laughed about it. And I'm sorry, but honey, babe, I'm sorry, dear, that's illegal.
She was there when he was found guilty. She was there when he was sentenced. But when he was released, because the case was overturned, she was nowhere to be found. I have this cut. This is Christopher Martinson. He is a scientist, and he literally took the sounds of the gunfire and he did some analysis. And I'm going to play the short version. It's only a couple of minutes long, but you'll get an idea of what we were talking about.
This is the 5 that make a very distinct sound. Here's one with a very different crack in it. That's the 6th shot in the string. And then here we have the final last one, which I think is the sniper weapon, which is probably the one that put the bullet just over the left eye of Crooks on the roof. So we're going to take a closer look at the blue, the red, the blacks here, and listen to these things. But once again, let's just listen very carefully, and we'll go back and forth until you're certain of this yourself. These video audio pieces are exactly pulled straight from the video itself. Nothing else. I haven't boosted any. I haven't done any filtering. Raw files, okay? Here's 1, 2, and 3 to start. Okay, listen to that again. Now let's listen to the next string. Ooh. Yeah. Hear that? So 6 sounds different to me, but here's an interesting thing. 1, 2, and 3, besides being muffled and further away, it doesn't have echoes. Here we go. So this here's a shot. This is an echo. Very clearly an echo, and a shot in an echo, and a shot in an echo. So this is actually critical evidence, because you hear that, there's echoes coming off. So that also allows us, again, to analyze where was this gun. But first up, we just have an absolutely different sound between the first 3. There's no echo. It's much further away. It's more muffled. It's just not in the same place at all. But these next ones, very different sound, totally different weapons. Okay, full stop. We have 2 separate weapons. Plus, we have no echoes coming off of the first 3, and then we do have echoes coming off of the next set. And that last one, that's different. That's not the sniper shot. The sniper shot is another 10 seconds later.
And what I think they failed to say is that it's off the same microphone. This is not multiple microphones in different locations. This is the recording off one microphone. I believe it's the microphone that was the one that was used by President Trump at the lectern. So you hear the differences.
Let me ask you, what's the probability that this assassination attempt was ordained by the DNC?
Well, I mean, if it wasn't the DNC, Bill, I do think there's a deeper, more sinister plot behind this. I don't think...
All right.
Bill, here's what it wasn't, I don't think. Call me crazy, and this is what they're trying to sell. But I don't think it was one 20-year-old kid from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, who was disgruntled one day and picked up his dad's rifle and went out and shot the president.
No, I don't believe that either, but I do believe that they're trying to tie tie a string and wrap this package up here. And I think this package was conceived after the debate in Biden failed, and I think that was a setup. And there was a meeting with Schumer and Pelosi and the hierarchy, and the Obamas too, and whatnot. And with Kamala being anointed, I have a hunch that she was there too. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, if there was a DNC meeting and all these things have taken place, and she was there, wouldn't we want to get all of those people and say, this meeting, this realigning meeting, we want to talk to you. We want to see all your notes, handwritten, typed, or whatnot. We want to talk to you individually. We're going to sequester you. You cannot talk amongst each other and get their story, because if there is a coup there, then we have a candidate that shouldn't be running. We have some politicians that should be locked up and shackled away. Well, they say, well, Trump's got 34 felonies. Well, we can review the law and how real cases come down and how you turned Kool-Aid into a crap storm.
He hasn't been technically found guilty of anything yet because they haven't sentenced him.
Well, even if they do, he has the right to appeal. They changed a lot of things, laws and everything, on both times to do this. And they say, well, he allegedly had an affair with Stormy Daniels. But you know what? It's been proven time and time again, and she says she didn't have an affair. And it's been proven that he had the money. You know, if this was a hush thing, he didn't need the hush money because he had the money, and it wasn't a hush case. As a matter of fact, it was the...
Bill, they have 2 letters from her signed by her saying that it was never an affair.
And the guy, what's his name? The guy that
Cohen
or whatever.
Yeah,
Cohen,
Michael Cohen,
who's in prison. It was his idea to do this, you know, and that's it. The only thing Trump did is said, "Okay, you did it. That's great. I'll give you your money back."
If they had been successful and taken Trump out, and by the way, it was literally like a quarter of an inch difference between him having an ear wound and having his head blown off. If they had been successful in Butler to take Trump out, would Biden have resigned?
No, I still don't even know if we have the real Biden, sitting in the cooler. There's a lot here, and
I think he would definitely have. They said to him, "Look, the only thing we have left after that debate is to remove Trump from the playing field." And so that was their plan, to remove him from the playing field.
Mm-hmm. He knew about it then.
And it didn't work out. And now they had no other option but to remove Biden from the playing field because he wasn't. It was a fait accompli. He wasn't going to win in the election. So they put Kamala in.
Is Schumer's saying you need to get rid of Vance and Trump, you need to drop out? Is that his signal to him that Trump, we're going to Biden you?
Well,
we're going to make you.
I know. I think what it is, it's
a signal.
It's a signal. Here's what I think.
It's desperation, but it's a signal.
There's a Secret Service agent, a counter sniper agent, who sent an email to all of the members of the Uniform Secret Service Division. This was just after the assassination attempt. And he said there are 5 people who've got to go in the Secret Service. 5 people got to go. And then when Cheadle left, he said 1 down, 4 left. This is a guy who was a counter sniper. He said if they don't leave, if they're not replaced, there will be another assassination attempt on Trump before November. And I think that Schumer was signaling the Trump team that, hey, you better drop out because it's going to happen again.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying we got to, as I like to say, back this bus up. Let's go back to that week between the debate and Trump's rally when the Democrats had an emergency meeting and all the power players were there, and I believe Kamala too. And if a coup was hatched or a continuation of a coup was hatched, then all of those people are terrorists.
By the way, the Secret Service email that was written by that counter sniper, it was all of a sudden deleted from the website.
Of course it was.
Yeah, and fortunately, like a lot of emails, they can't delete copies that are saved. So there are copies. They couldn't remove it altogether, but they tried. They did try. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just let me throw this one thing in there. If you see something on the internet that's negative towards whether it's Trump or towards them, you see something that's powerful. That's important. That won't be up long. You make a copy of it. Make 2 copies.
Remember yesterday I said about the Trump assassination attempt Google search? I got the wording wrong. What you should do is go to Google and type assassination attempt and type TR. Usually, it autofills when it figures out what you're trying to. If you put assassination attempt TR, it will bring up Truman. It'll bring up all these different things, but it won't mention Trump because they don't want you to remember. You know the picture, the iconic picture of Trump raising his hand, the one we have on our website, the one that you grabbed and posted on our website. You can't find it.
No, you can't.
They're scrubbing that picture of Trump. They're trying to make it old news, history, and a memory, if that. And it only happened, folks, less than a month ago.
Look, they're doing everything they can to cover everything up, and they're doing a pretty damn good job. So that's what I'm saying. Make a folder, save everything, and don't make a folder that copies to the cloud. The cloud goes to a server somewhere in a deep, dark space. Put it on your own little thumb drive of everything, and then one day down the road, man, I can't find that. You can go and sit there and make a copy of it and send it out there. Well, here it is.
You know, one of the reasons why I can't get totally enthusiastic about Bitcoin, and it sounds like an interesting proposition, financial proposition, is that it's digital and it's out there and it's your savings. You can put $10,000 into Bitcoin and you may look like you're becoming a wealthy person. Maybe it's paying off for you, but it's still
it can all be taken away overnight
with a keystroke by a stranger. So they may decide, oh, that guy Jim Harrington, he's being too much of a big mouth, so let's just take all of his savings.
And the government wants to take control of Bitcoin, and they want to take control of digital currency. So all of our money is digital assets. It's pretend. It's a ledger in a computer.
Bill, by the way,
which the government controls, they can take it away.
If you have money in a bank, right, don't trust just the digital copies of your information. Print stuff up. If you go to your bank account on the website, and you see how much money you have in your savings account on a certain date, print it out. Print it out so you have a physical copy in case one day they go into the bank and all of a sudden they delete all the files. Because when all is said and done, if you just rely on the information you get online from your bank, it's still digital. You have to have...
Well, the bank does not even have that much cash. Let's just say, oh, you're not rich. You got $100,000. Go in and try to withdraw that $100,000.
You'll never get it.
Yeah. You'll never get it today. It's going to... Well, why do you want the money? It's none of your damn business. Well, we just can't give that kind of money out for no reason.
Well, they report you to the FBI, They report you to the government. If you go in and withdraw over $10,000 in cash, you're reported to the government because they think you're doing a drug deal.
Or they'll say you're doing a drug deal. They'll DeLorean you, all of a sudden, but you're doing a drug deal. They'll set you up. The government is not all peaches and cream like we've been led to believe.
I remind people about what happened on the day of the assassination attempt. Local police commented on the fact that they didn't have a meeting like they were supposed to. Listen.
Now to an ABC News exclusive. We're hearing from some of the local SWAT team members who were on duty during Trump's rally in Pennsylvania.
These are the SWAT team members who were assigned to take up positions in defense of former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they told us they had no communication with the Secret Service until after the gunfire started. The SWAT team saw the shooter. They recognized him as suspicious, even took pictures of him. None of the concerns, though, had a chance of reaching decision makers before Trump took the stage.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
I want to mention something here. I don't know personally Dan Bongino. I do listen. God bless that young man, because I'll tell you why. He is all over this case like a fly on manure. This guy is, he was 12 years a Secret Service agent, and every time they make a comment and it's wrong, he is outspoken, and he straightens the detail out. For example, this guy just said that they didn't have a meeting with the Secret Service. This local police officer said, look, we didn't have a meeting the day of the shooting, before the shooting took place. And yesterday, in the testimony, the acting director, Rowe, testified in front of Congress that they did meet with the local people the day of the shooting, the day before, and before the shooting took place. So he lied in front of Congress openly and without any hesitation. Oh yes, we met with the and one of the senators said, well, you realize there's conflicting testimony here. The locals said you did not. Now, this guy Rowe, they'll say what they have to say, folks. And by the way, Rowe is supposedly part of the problem. He was second in command. He was aware of what was going on that day. He had decisions that were made by him that day that were wrong decisions, but yet they make him, what was it? I think Dan said it's one of the only situations where you can fail and they promote you. You know, he failed on that day, and they promoted him to acting director of the Secret Service. You know, I would submit that what they should do is they should get a guy like Bongino and make him the acting director and give him a sabbatical from his radio program. You know, seriously, they should say, okay, we need you to be in this position for 6 months while we fix it, while we straighten this thing out. Let us get through the elections. And get somebody who's...
He may not want to do it, though. He may not want to get back into that swamp because it is a swamp. You got to look over your shoulder. Yeah, they may be fixing it, but I still have debates and worries that we can fix our government. You know, what happens if Kamala gets in, the Democrats take the House, the Senate, the everything, and Congress? Well, life will go on. You will still wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, take a shave, wash your face, eat whatever kind of food we have for breakfast and go about your day, whatever it is to do, whether it's sucking off the government teat or whatever, and then you'll sit down and watch the state news at night, pretty much what we do now. But you may not have a car to drive. Yeah, you may not have public transportation. You may be locked up at home, and that's just it. You're going to give up some freedoms, but life will go on. But is it the life that you want to go on with? That is the question.
Well, you will have you'll make $1, but it'll probably be worth a third of what it's worth was worth in 2020. I mean, we are paying through our nose. You go into stores now and you see empty shelves. I can't believe it. I walked into a Rite Aid, a brand new Rite Aid, which was fully stocked, not too long ago, and they got shelves that are empty. And what's wrong here? Oh, we can't get our shipments in.
Right.
Why?
That's going on everywhere. But they say there's no supply problem. There's plenty of this, plenty of that. Well, they tell us that, but then they say there's not enough food to feed the world. And then I mentioned the thing yesterday, the World Economic Forum wants to eliminate 1 billion white people. Well, you know what? That's virtually the entire white population. Well, then I guess the next big demographic group, or I should say ethnic group, they got to go after are black people because they're the next number. What the hell is going on?
Who's making these
everything?
Decisions? I heard something yesterday where supposedly the deep state wants to thin the herd in the U.S. by 3/4 of the population. I mean, how do you do something like that? But, let me tell you something, folks. When you hear a story like that, you say that's ridiculous. And I do believe that things like that are ridiculous. But there's usually some tiny little thread of truth somewhere. Maybe it's not 3/4, but they do want to thin the herd somewhere. They want to cut back somewhere. And I've heard it used. I've heard Bill Gates say that we should have 550 million people in our world, the whole world. Well, we have 6 billion.
Let me ask you a question. If you look at the population, they were talking about overpopulation, but there's a population decline. We are not producing as much. And I don't think it's for lack of pheromones and lack of desire. I think people are, if you check, people are pretty promiscuous. Then abortion would not be a problem either if that's declining. But yet population is declining. So the point I'm getting at, what are we consuming? What's in the water? What's in the food? Is it just stupidity over the chemicals and the preservatives that are basically making men impotent and women to where they can't bear children? What the hell's going on?
Have you ever wondered why? And I do. You see, there is such an interest in building artificial human being robotics. They want to build human beings, make them as close to human as possible. Yet the same people who want to build those robots would like to abort babies, usually. I mean, not all the time, but many cases. The people, the leftist liberals who are, they like the idea of having AI and robotics, phony human beings, but real human beings they have no problem disposing of.
You know what I saw, and it was probably done as a joke, a parody, but it was with a real AI robot, and they had 6 guys talking to her, and it was a dating game where they were interviewing the AI to date her, whatever it is, and she eliminated 5 guys and got the one, guy, and he was all gushy, and I'm like going, you're going to go on a date with a robot that said it has no sexual organs.
Well,
I'm like
it's like going on a date with your car.
Well, in some societies, maybe so. Yeah. I don't know. What is wrong with the world today?
Oh, Bill, we could do several shows on that. I can tell you what happened. Did you know what happened in Tehran yesterday?
Somebody got killed.
Yeah. I'm going to play this cut. This is from Israel and one of their news reports. Listen.
In a targeted strike in Beirut, Lebanon, the IDF eliminated the man behind the Majd al-Shams massacre, Fouad Shoukel. Shoukel was a senior military commander in Hezbollah and the head of the strategic unit, and in the past 30 years, he has been responsible for masterminding, planning, and executing every Hezbollah attack. He has a $5 million bounty issued by the U.S. State Department on him, and he has the blood of civilians from all over the world on his hands. He was involved in numerous terrorist attacks, such as the U.S. Marine Corps barracks bombing that killed 241 American troops. His elimination brings us one step closer to restoring stability in this region and eliminating terrorists who threaten the lives of innocent civilians. We will take every step necessary to keep our civilians safe on all fronts.
My apologies. That was set up the wrong way. That was the story about the Hezbollah leader who was killed within the last day in Lebanon, okay? But
and 24 hours before.
No, 24 hours later, closer.
Yeah, later, yeah.
In Tehran, they took out a head of, Hamas, who was hiding in Tehran, of all places. This is a guy who I guess was responsible or involved with a lot of the terrorism in the Middle East. And what amazes me, Bill, is they took him out in Tehran. He had
a home there, a residence there. They took out the residence.
How did they do it? Was it a missile or a bomb?
I don't know. I heard the story. I read the story. I wasn't there, so I don't know how they did it.
But I mean, they didn't say in the story, did they?
No, they sure as hell didn't. And there was a hit, and I'm going like, yeah, and this is a hotbed that sooner or later we're going to be at war over this, and you got Turkey out there too, and Hamas and Israel, and we got Kamala, who's pro-Hamas. What the hell are we going to do?
Well, we're supposed to, because
she's acting as the president, so but
they're our ally, Israel, and we're supposed to be on their side. Now, we talked about this yesterday. You heard Erdogan in Turkey said he's in favor of going in and supporting Hamas. So if Turkey, which is a NATO member, goes in and supports Hamas, what do we do? But see, Erdogan has always been an outlier. He's always been the odd man out. Yes, they're a member of NATO, but are they really a member of NATO? Do they really support the things that we support? I don't think so.
Well, do we have an acting president right now that's an odd person out?
Oh, absolutely. She
hates Israel.
If I were Israel, I wouldn't hold my breath and wait for the United States to come to your aid, because as long as she and Joe are in charge, there's a good chance they're going to ignore you.
Yeah, if I were Israel, I would do what I got to do, but I would also sit there and watch my back. And, they got nukes. They only have to use one, and I'm not saying for them to hit us, but if we were to do something against them, they would have every right to retaliate in any way that they deem necessary. And that is what Kamala and Joe represent, and Schumer and Pelosi and the Democrat Party. They really don't care about the losses that we could incur or you.
Senator Tom Cotton had a few things to say about the Israeli war. Listen.
Joining us now, Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. I do want to ask you, overnight the Israeli Defense Forces struck targets inside Lebanon, focused on Hezbollah, the terrorist group there, in retaliation for a rocket attack that killed 12 children in a Druze community in the Golan Heights in Israel. Hezbollah does appear responsible for that attack. What do you know about the Israeli response, and how worried are you that this could escalate into a larger regional conflict involving not just Lebanon and Hezbollah, but maybe even Iran?
Well, Jake, what I'm worried about is Iranian-backed terrorists continuing to blow up innocent children in Israel. That's what we saw yesterday in this heinous attack. Last October, we saw Iranian-backed terrorists kill more than 1,200 Jews in the worst atrocity against Jews since World War II. This week, Kamala Harris, in her very first statement, and still to my knowledge, only statement on a matter of great public importance, came out after a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and equivocated between Hamas and Israel and effectively blamed Israel for civilian casualties in Gaza or for the lack of food in Gaza that Hamas is diverting from aid stations. That simply makes it harder to get a peace deal. It makes it harder to have stability in the Middle East. And frankly, it emboldens Iran and terrorist groups like Hezbollah because they believe that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will continue to put more pressure on Israel than it puts on Iran and its terrorists that are encircling Israel with the stated objective to destroy Israel. What we should do is back Israel to the hilt, not put pressure on Israel, not scramble behind the scenes to try to stop Israel from retaliating appropriately for this heinous attack that killed more than a dozen people, including children.
So she did speak after her meeting with Netanyahu. She did talk about Hamas, though. You described it as equivocating. I want to just play what she said and then talk about it more.
Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization. On October 7, Hamas triggered this war when it massacred 1,200 innocent people, including 44 Americans. Hamas has committed horrific acts of sexual violence and took 250 hostages.
I mean, that's a pretty strong condemnation of Hamas. One can condemn Hamas and also want Israel to wage the war in a different way, no?
As is sometimes said, the most important parts of a statement comes after the but. We didn't hear the but there, but she said but, and then what followed is continued pressure on Israel, blaming Israel for civilian casualties in Gaza, when in reality, it's Hamas that is using civilians as human shields and locating its command posts and mortar firing positions at schools or at mosques or at hospitals. And where's the condemnation for this heinous attack by Hezbollah yesterday that blew up 12 children? As we came on the air, Kamala Harris and her campaign has still not said anything to condemn Hezbollah for that attack. Again, this is only a week into her presidency or her presidential campaign, and we see why she is a dangerous liberal. I saw Kamala Harris up close for 4 years on the Senate Intelligence Committee. What the American people see this week is just a small sampling of what she would do to make America less safe and make the world more chaotic. Remember, she took credit for a lot of the worst decisions of the Biden administration. She said she was right there when they decided on the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. This is who Kamala Harris always has been. This is who she will be, a San Francisco liberal who cannot keep this country safe.
And you have to ask yourself this, okay, they're always saying, the Biden administration is always saying, Israel should agree to a ceasefire. Israel should agree to a ceasefire. But a ceasefire, by the way, only works when two sides are involved. So they're not saying to Hamas, will you agree to a ceasefire? They're only asking Israel. If Israel were to stop firing their weapons today and Hamas didn't, how would that work out? You know? But this is how they think on the left. This is how this administration is thinking. They try to present a picture like they're trying to be rational and reasonable, and they're not. They're not.
No.
And what he said about anything before but is usually bull, you know, and that's how she'll say all these glorious things about how they support Israel and how they think Hamas is bad and how all this should happen, but And anything before but usually is a waste of space, a waste of time listening to, because their real feelings, what they're really trying to sell you, comes after the word but. Anyway, I'm looking at the clock on the wall. Another thing I wanted to point out today, Bill, in Venezuela, they had an election, and it is pretty sure now that it's been stolen. Maduro lost by supposedly 30%. 30%, yet he controls the military. So overnight, does this sound familiar? Overnight, he claimed victory. And now, the people are rioting in the streets, is talking about civil war. One of the largest criminal gangs in Venezuela has actually shown themselves like patriots to support the people, saying to Maduro, if you don't step down, you're going to be in big trouble.
Well, at some point in time, deceptive governments affect everybody, even the bad guys. And that's going on here right now. I mean, I don't believe that people wake up at 1 a.m. and say, oh, I got to go vote. I can go to the polls right now. Oh, I forgot to turn in my ballot. I'll go drop it off in this mailbox. Are you picking up right now? Good. There's too much that's...
Do you know what came out yesterday? A story came out yesterday. Seriously, God's truth. It is what? It is the 31st. Yesterday was the 30th of July, 2024. Still 3 months away from election time, yet a story came out that we should expect in the state of Pennsylvania that vote counting would take place over a 2-day period again. But they don't give you a good reason why. They're setting you up now to expect that there will be delays.
The whole thing is a setup. And, we're being gaslit. And, you would think that Kamala's got this thing in the bag, going to win by a landslide. And she just may. She didn't have it in the bag, but she might win by a landslide. But it is not a real landslide. It's a fabricated landslide, because all the numbers I've seen, Trump is ahead. Even when they sit there, Kamala's winning, and then you read the story, well, not really, but the headline looks good.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of people don't go beyond the headline, and they know that. And that's what they're doing. So people wake up. Either quit reading the mainstream news and quit looking at it because you're not delving into it, or read the whole damn story and then go to another source. And if you're going to NBC, CBS, ABC, and whatever else, CNN, they all get the same talking points from the DNC. That was proven at a press conference, that they hand out their talking points and their narratives, because they sit there and they have a little weekly think tank. All right, what are we going to do this week? Oh, I got one for you.
Well, Bill, just look at the staff they have on these networks. You have Jen Psaki, former liberal leftist press secretary for the president. Jen Psaki has a show on MSNBC. Mm-hmm. Jake Tapper was once an aide to a Democratic senator. It goes on and on. There's a whole series of George Stephanopoulos was a big Clinton aide for a number of years. All these influential media people who manipulate the direction of the news, they are now in strategic positions, and they were once Democratic operatives. Do you think that you listen to Tapper talk? That thing he just did a second ago with Tom Cotton, he ran a piece of audio. It was video. He ran a piece of audio that made it sound like Carmela was actually on Israel's side, when in reality they edited it so it sounded that way, and they left out the part where she starts to ramble on about what Israel should do. Yeah,
and they've taken news pieces. Look, I can take a news piece and take out the excerpts of what I want and have you say whatever my heart desires. I can make you sound like you are the biggest conservative there ever was. They did it with all the Fox News reporters, and they took excerpts to make it sound like they were chastising Trump, and they were not, if you listen to the whole story. But you're not given that opportunity. And unfortunately, most of the people do not go beyond the story and get to the root of the story, and therefore they win with their gaslighting, their propaganda, because they own the media.
What you and I have talked about before is editing, audio editing. And for the longest time, it was cutting tape. And that was difficult. You had to physically, literally cut audio tape with a razor blade, and you had to be really good at it to make it sound natural. Okay, but some guys were good at it and they could do it, but it was an art form. Then came digital waveform editing, and that became much easier. You could really do some masterful things and make it sound real. That's basically what we have now. But what we're moving into now, which is really scary, is you can say to a computer, an AI program, so-and-so, in the voice of Joe Biden, would you please read the following? And then have it dictate what you want it to say, and that computer will make it sound like Joe Biden said it.
Jim, I sit in this rocking chair right across the room over there. Right next to that is, what I call Ziggy. Whatever you want to call yours, Alexa. Okay, but mine's Ziggy. And I sit there, but I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to Ziggy, but it listens all the time. Now, it's interesting to me that I'm sitting there going, I want to get a new pair of shoes. Now, obviously, today I'm going to see shoe ads because I just said that, and I just saw a little light blink. It listened to me.
Yeah.
It listens to this podcast. And I'm talking about the news and everything, Kamala, and that the news is set up. All of a sudden, when I refresh my computer, all the stories, all the editorials will be Kamala, 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 because the algorithm is there to shove down my throat. And the only thing that I can do is turn it off. And when I sit there, it's just like when I see a friend that goes, a supposed friend, maybe a colleague or an acquaintance, that do negative memes. And by the way, memes were meant as hate speech. They were meant to beat you down and make you shut up and go away. It's hate speech. So when your friend puts something out there for Kamala or Orange Man Trump or whatever they do, that is hate speech to you. Snooze them, turn them off, or unfriend them, because guess what? They are not your friend. As the old saying goes, they're a screw your buddy in the foxhole kind of person, and you're the, you're the recipient.
Yeah,
you're the target. So don't put yourself in the firing range. And I'm sorry, but Democrats, a lot of them they're Democrats until they die. They don't care what they run. It's about control. When they say my democracy, they don't want a Republican in the White House at all. They want him out of there. And boy, wouldn't that be a crap storm? Then they'd have to fight amongst themselves.
One other thing before we wrap this up is a short piece. President Trump talked about how Melania found out about the shooting and how she reacted. Listen to this.
When she learned about what happened on that field in Butler.
She was watching.
Oh, she was watching in real time?
She was watching live. It was all over the place. It was on television. It was on your network, but it was all over the place. And she was watching. I asked her that. I mean, I wasn't there. I was on the ground. And when the world started to, like, you could talk to people, I said, so what was your feeling? And she can't really even talk about it.
Traumatized.
Which is okay, because that means she likes me. She loves me.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. I was traumatized by it, and you were traumatized by it. Yeah,
I was up in Massachusetts, because somebody was not feeling well. I went up for an emergency thing, but a week later was on vacation, was gone for almost a month. But you called, and I'm going. You said, "Are you seeing what's going on?" I'm going, "No, they shot Trump," and I turned it on. I was going. And then the goosebumps went up the arm, and, the person that was there next to me, she goes, she started having a fit. And then they were saying, well, he fell down. I'm going, no. You heard the pop, and he grabbed his ear, and then he looked at his hand, and he went down instinctively, to duck. He was shocked himself.
Yeah.
There was a surprised look on his face.
Well, the thing is, they're surprised that Melania can't talk about it, and the wife of the man. I mean, and by the way, these bastards, pardon my French, who are behind this, and I don't believe it's just that kid. I think I don't know who they are. I'm not going to say it was any specific person, but I do believe there's something more behind this kid than we know right now. We may never know.
It was part of a coup. I think there was a hit.
But they don't care if Barron saw it. They don't care if Melania saw it. They don't care who in the Trump family saw it. They don't care if the world saw it. And what they wanted us to see was a wide shot of President Trump having his head blown off like a watermelon.
If you were Barron, if you were any of the Trump kids or anybody married to Trump, then you would be upset by what happened to Donald, and you would be upset by, I have seen the memes, I have seen the shirts. The only good Trump is a dead Trump. And that means they don't want to just take Donald out. They want to erase him and anybody connected to him. And how far down the line are they going to take that? Are they going to take out the family and then turn around and say, did you vote for Trump?
Of course.
Hey, you need your head examined.
It's okay for them to put signs on their front lawn that say Biden, Harris, and it's okay for them to be all promoting the left. It's okay for them. But if you put a Trump Vance sign on your front yard nowadays, you risk having your house vandalized. You risk your house being made a mess of, if you know what I'm talking about. Toilet paper and trees, things like. I've seen this happen in regular neighborhoods. But this is what's happened. The left thinks it's okay to do stuff to people on the right, and the right doesn't return the fire because they're law-abiding. They believe in law.
Well, not only that, if you return the fire, you will be locked up, tried by a left-leaning judge, and you will do some time in jail. And you will probably have to go to psychiatric evaluations. Now, if you're from the left, hey, it's freedom of speech, freedom of expression.
Oh, we couldn't find the kid.
Right.
Yeah, we couldn't find the kid. He's probably just a kid from the neighborhood. Don't worry about it. Folks, so what do? I'll tell you what you do. You protect your property and you protect your family. The sign doesn't mean a heck of a lot anyway. It really doesn't. Lawn signs meant something years ago on local elections. On a national election, don't worry about it. The big thing is make darn sure you go out and vote. That's the most important thing. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell your family. Keep it a secret. Protect yourself. But vote the right way. One other thing I was going to point out. When pollsters call your house and say, hi, we're doing a poll on who you're going to vote for in the 2024 election, don't tell them. Some people say, don't tell them anything. Say, I don't get involved with polls, and hang up. Because
get a receipt on your vote, too. And if they tell you at that poll that they can't do a receipt, they're not set up for that, get their name, write it down, the date, because if you find out your candidate lost in your area,
what I was going to say,
there's a damn good chance.
What I was going to point out was that you don't know who's calling and saying they're from a polling place. You don't know who's on the other end of a call. They may say they're calling from the Harris poll. They could be calling from McDonald's down the road. You don't know who these people are. And in this environment nowadays, it goes back to protecting you and your family. I don't get involved with polls, period, and hang up. And by the way, if Trump is ahead 52-48, and that's what you see right now, I would venture to say
80,
it's like
80-20.
80. It's a massive lead. This is just the people who are talking, who are actually getting involved. But I just would suggest keep it to yourself, but vote the right way come November.
I agree.
Hey, buddy, I think we've done it again. Would you believe in another show in the can? I mean, it's amazing.
I believe it.
I don't know how we do these things.
I don't either.
We always start out saying, I don't know whether we have enough to talk about in today's program. And then
we did. We kind of skipped along,
Yeah, we do that a lot. We skip along. And what's amazing, folks, if you saw my buddy Bill, he looks like he's been up all night. Oh, wait a second. You have
I
been up all
was.
night.
I was up all night
Yeah.
because of the water. And you know what? They took a break for the show. Thank you, guys. But, you know, you
I know you hate it.
And because now I'm going to probably,
Go take a nap.
post
and
this
they'll
thing, I'm going to take a nap, and I'm going to hear.
I know, it's amazing.
And then I'll get a knock on the door. Is your water working? You know, is my finger working? You know?
Bill, might I suggest maybe going and getting a hotel room for the day and just
taking a Valium. I need to calm down.
you need to sleep. Anyway, friends, if you want to contact us, our email address can be found on our website, and our website is www.itsanotherday.com or www.jimandbill.com. Our phone number's there too, and
wow.
Also, you'll find like 700 plus shows. I know it says like 680 something, but the fact is there are some shows
We
that
don't know
were-
how to count.
Yeah, some shows in the beginning that weren't numbered. So we have over 700 programs that we've done. I mean, it's amazing, Bill. And we still haven't taken advertising. We talk about it. We think about it, but we still
We talk a
haven't.
good game, but we don't do it.
Well, hey,
you know what? There might be an advertiser listening right now. Get in touch with us. You never know.
We reach
Might make
over 300. What do they say? We reach almost 4 million people a week around the world. So if you you have a product you want to promote around the world, it might not be a bad choice. You know,
That's true. Even if it's in your own little neighborhood, there's good chance. But, you know, that's just the way it works.
That's true. Well, I guess we're just about done here, Bill. I guess there's only one thing left for you to do, and I hope you can do it. I know you didn't get much sleep, but
Well, I'm going to go I'm going to go out front and I'm going to yell at those guys. And they're going to say, "Oh yeah, you thought it was loud last night. Wait until you get a load of this." And you know what I'm going to tell them? Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.